kutob ko, ang mga second preference na first preference nila si Lacson ay si BBM. So, baka kay BBM papupunta yung numbers ni Lacson. Ilang percent na lang yan? 3, 4, 5? Ayan. So, ano, stay na lang kayo dyan. Sige, stay na lang kayo dyan. Oo. I mean, for me talaga, the dark horse of this race was really Isko Moreno. Diba? Yung dark horse talaga was Moreno. And honestly talaga, as I said, and I'll maintain this over and over and over again, if Moreno did better as a first preference, problema sa second preference number is, wala naman nagiging presidente na, wala naman tayo first runner-up award dito eh. Isa lang mananalo dito. At kung yung conversion quotient mo, ayan, meron tayong nga, ay hindi ganun kataas, second preference ka lang mataas throughout the race, then wala rin, di ba? But, I really think he's got a lot of potential. Not necessarily to win, but to keep this race close between several candidates. Kasi ang basa ko talaga, Isko was the one who was the biggest loser when BBM was picking up numbers. So, Aristotelian sense, the sum is bigger than the parts. So what happened is that when Sara did not run, BBM picked up the Sara numbers, so that's around 30%, plus his own 30 and 15%, that's 45. And then he picked up another 5 plus percent or more from Isko. So yun yung nangyari dito. Kaya bumaba si Isko, and then ang laki ng akyat ni BBM. At ang kudob ko dyan, marami dyang iba na second preference nila si Isko, mga BBMers yan. Diba? Oo. So, honestly, the only way this race could have become very competitive is if Isko does better. And that raises the question, anong nangyari doon? What happened to the Isko race? And I think later on we have to have a proper analysis of this. Of course, I don't want to preempt the elections. There's still a month. Isko Moreno is working hard, going across the country, doing his best. Nakikita natin, he's a very active guy. In fairness naman kay Isko Moreno, he's a very dynamic leader. Alam ko yung mga criticism sa kanya. Pag-usapan natin shortly yan. Pero di ba, yun nga eh. He had all of the basic ingredients talaga to make a very, very compelling presidential run. At sa tingin ko, ito talaga yung time niya. Kasi kung naghihintay pa siya, parang mag-move on na. Kasi timing talaga yung presidential run. And the early surveys were suggesting he was very, very competitive. No? Especially Bongbong didn't run, and then with Sara talaga yung showdown. And Lenny didn't run. Mukhang Isko really had a good chance. But I think something really went wrong somewhere, and I'm not gonna blame one camp or the other. But I think the decision to bring in some not core Duterte campaigner, saying that core campaigner siya ni Duterte, I think that was essentially, I think in retrospect, that was the big problem. I think that was where, from then on, nakikita natin na Isko was not doing very well. The communication messaging was extremely all over the place. And you could see even Isko was struggling to triangulate things. Kasi naintindihan ko kasi when pinasok yung one of the campaign people of Duterte to run the Isko campaign, parang I think the strategy there was, let's just hedge our bets if ever either BBM or Sara doesn't run. So wag tayong masyadong anti-Marcos kasi baka naman hindi tatakbo si BBM, so we can pick up the number from BBM against Sara. And wag tayong masyadong super attack naman kay siguro Sara, etc. Kasi baka naman hindi tatakbo si Sara, si BBM kalaban, so pick up. So in the meantime, na-alienate yung opposition. Na-alienate yung mga tao na they were saying, okay, if hindi tatakbo si Lenny, Isko na lang, diba? And that was not a small numbers. Let's look at it. Lenny has been going between 15 to 25%. So that's not a small number, right? It may not be big enough to get you a victory, but it's big enough to make a difference, right, in a race. So I think what happened there was Isko made a bet na baka hindi na tatakbo si Lenny at baka hindi tatakbo yun nga at pwede siya mag-pick up on numbers if hindi tatakbo one of those two, yung whether Sara or BBM. But it didn't happen. So in the meantime, he alienated the opposition. It made it easier for the Lenny side to say, oh, kami talagang totoong opposition. And then later on, of course, yung pressure on Isko to drop out. And then Lenny goes in. Now, I know there's a version also criticizing the Lenny side. Okay, so all I'm saying is that I'm not here to judge which version is correct because I've heard both versions. Or actually more than two versions. I'm not here to adjudicate on that. Ang issue lang talaga dito is, I think when Isko brought a former Duterte campaign person, not really the ace team of Duterte, but just one of the campaign guy, that made it very easy for the Lenny side to say, see, hindi naman to talagang opposition to eh. Secret candidate ni ano to eh. Ganyan, ganyan. And so, eto na tayo. Both Isko and Lenny run, and in many ways they're canceling out each other, right? In many ways they're canceling out each other. And at the same time, I think the thing with Isko is that, yun nga, kasi sayang, because if you look at it, oy, Sar, wag kang mag-insulto dyan, ha? Ay, mabablock kita. Wag tayo bastos dito. Nag-usap tayo ng seryoso. Alam ko vlogger tayo, pero seryoso tong usapan na to. Because I really think Isko has a lot of potential. And I think this was really his time. But I think some really missteps happened in the campaign strategy and all. But, again, nothing is over. Nothing is over. There's still a month. Isko's campaign team is working very hard. There are many people in the Isko campaign, they're very good people. They're very dedicated. They're very devoted. Yung mga people from Raul Roco's party na involved dyan, action people, they're really genuine people. They really want the best for the country, and they want to get out of this polarization between this side against the other. Alam niyo na yung two sides na yan. But yun nga the centrist messaging, I think, was even less ably handled than the Poe Escudero one in 2016. And then we're also seeing essentially the repetition of what happened in 2016, kung saan na-split yung vote between Poe and Rojas part. And at some point, the Rojas people were saying, oh, we have higher first preference, but Poe had so much more second preference, so she had so much more potential to increase her numbers. And then the whole case and everything like that. So we're seeing somehow the repetition of 2016. But then again, there's still 1 month. There's still things that can happen there. And, if you don't want a good Machiavellian to be the next president, etc., you would hope that Isko will do much, much better. Because I think Isko can do, has a lot of potential here. And not necessarily to win, but at least to make this race competitive. Because if Isko picks up, most likely that's going to eat into BBM's numbers. So Isko can go to 25, 30, and then Lenny can also pick up some numbers here and there. Probably, if, let's say, Pacquiao drops out, etc., then the race could be more competitive. The race could be something like 3 candidates in their 30s, right? 35, 30, 38, something like that. Or 25, 30, 45. Or, you know what I'm saying? Parang ganon, di ba? So, one thing strange here is that Isko is not being talked as much about. But my contention is Isko is still the dark horse here. And I think if Isko picks up in the final stretch of this race, it can completely change the dynamic of the race. Not necessarily going to make Isko run, but making it much more competitive. Because so far, again, if we are to believe the surveys, it's still a very lopsided race. So yun lang. Again, I'm saying everything I'm saying here is really out of complete goodwill. This is constructive criticism. And I didn't want to overemphasize this kasi hindi pa naman tapos yung laban. Let's still see. And yun nga, hindi naman nakakuha ni Isko rin yung endorsement ni Pangulong Duterte after everything, right? And even if it comes now or this month, I don't know how much difference it will make. It should have come back in January, December pa. So there's also that aspect, diba? And then, kaya yun. I mean, honestly, that's really the only way I see this race really tightening up. Some of the other candidates who have overlapped with Lenny drop out. I don't think Lacson is that person. Isko picks up, brings his number to 25-30. BBM accordingly will adjust downwards, and then you can have a more or less 3-way race here. Much closer, much competitive. Yun lang. So, I mean, if you're supporting Lenny, you would want to hope Isko will do better. Ganon kasimple lang yan. And if you're an Isko supporter, of course you're hoping that Isko will do better. And if you're a BBM supporter, you hope that Isko will continue to be the number 1 second preference candidate, which of course is not going to get you anything in our elections. I think sa Colombia, if I'm not mistaken, no. So Gideon Lasco, my colleague at Inquirer, Philippine Daily Inquirer, wrote something about this. Parang ang mangyayari ata sa Colombia, if natalo ka first runner-up or something, meron kang konsuelo. Konsuelo talaga. Pwede kang maging senador. So that's an interesting one. But anyway, So, yun lang. Yun lang ano natin dyan na yes, I think Isko has really great potential. And for some reason, hindi siya na-realize a lot as much as it should. And there are many good people in his campaign. The action people are really good, dedicated people. Tapos yung mga Isko supporters, napakabait, hindi nagtatroll sa'yo. If they disagree with you, it's very politely done. They'll say, sir, ito po yung konteksto. You know, hindi ako nagpaparinig. Pero yung mga supporters ng ibang candidates, ibang klase. Ibang klase. You just say something na hindi nila gusto. If troll ka nila ng ano, kung ano sasabihin nila sa'yo. You know, that's one of the things that I liked about the Isko campaign is the people who support Isko, right? They're very mabait, polite, quiet, engaging. Oh, among other things. So yun lang. Again, this is not a endorsement of the candidate. I'm just talking about the whole vibes around it. And yun nga, sabi ko, if you want the race to be more competitive, you want Isko to do better. That's just how it is. Love till last. Isa ka pa. Next ka pa mabablock. Sige, mag-troll lang kayo dyan. Sige lang. Alright, okay. So I'll keep it there. I know it's a very contentious issue. At may interview tayo with New York Times. Dito ko nalagay, watch. May interview tayo sa New York Times and all shortly. So I may have to cut soon. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much for listening to me. I know these are difficult conversation we're having. Ito na, serious na tayo. Serious na tayo. And then also, of course, thank you very much dun sa mga congratulations sa atin for our latest publications na lumabas with Cambridge University Press. Ganun lang naman levels natin. We just publish with, just Cambridge University Press, Oxford University Press. Ganun lang naman yung levels natin. Self-proclaim analyst